Of the Appeal Committee on the Vaccination of Children has been postponed to the 31st of May. Non-profit organization Free the Children, Save the Nation brought forward an appeal to challenge the decision by the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority to administer vaccinations to children. Let's get you more detail. We're joined by the founder of the organization, John Taylor. Mr. Taylor, a good evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us. I think perhaps let's just go a couple of steps back and talk about the issue of contention. What is it that the organization finds problematic with the administration or the administering of vaccines to children?
Hi. Yeah, thanks very much for inviting me. It's really nice to be in a formal media environment. You know, we struggle always to get exposure to a broader public. But essentially, the issue that we raised right from the start was the whole concept of vaccinating children, and particularly our appeal is actually on two legs. It's the vaccination of children, and it's also the trials that they want to run on children with in both cases, let's call them novel, because they've only been on the market for a very short while. Call it a vaccine if you want, but you know, certainly the Pfizer doesn't meet with the requirements of a conventional vaccine. And the issue is, and it has become clearer over the months, particularly if one looks at the statistics in the UK and the USA, children are the least at risk from the infection, and most at risk from the injections, the jabs that they're getting. And particularly here in South Africa, if one looks at the statistics, it's the number of children that have actually been designated as being COVID positive cases have all had severe comorbidities as well, which has led to them succumbing. So it's a safety issue, and it's a question of attacking the children's natural immunity, because that is the most robust and the most enduring immunity is the immunity that you have as a human being.
We are always being told about, you know, the Department of Health, for instance, following the science, therefore making informed decisions. In terms of the work that you do, what have you found that you have then presented in these consultations for your argument, or to give, you know, some meat to your argument?
Well, you know, we've got a panel of doctors and specialists that are advising my legal team. They've analyzed the information both locally and internationally. For instance, one of our witnesses is Dr. Peter McCulloch. He's one of the most published medical professionals in history. He's a cardiologist. And the other person is Dr. Claire Craig from the UK. And she's a specialist pathologist who's been looking into the whole question of the deaths and what's been causing the deaths. So those are our two specialists that we're relying on heavily, and obviously all the other data and information that we obtain from our local medical specialist community as well as internationally.
At the heart of your statement, sir, you accuse SAHPRA of being deceitful, I beg your pardon, and secretive. You also ask what they don't want us to know. What do you perceive from these consultations that they do not want the public to know?
Specifically, the comments that we've noted there are the ones that were raised by the advocates at the hearing on Friday. It's a matter of public record what happened there, and certainly the recordings are available from the Department of Health, and I would imagine from SAHPRA as well, to back up what I'm saying. And there was certainly an overriding impression that's been aggravated by SAHPRA through the whole process when we first approached them in October and asked them to give us the information upon which they backed their decision to, first of all, authorize the use of the Pfizer vaccine, and second, to authorize the trials on children with the Chinese, I think it's the Sinovac vaccine. So it's clearly there. They've been challenged a number of times. We've asked for the information. They were asked, and in fact instructed by the chairperson of the appeals committee set up by the minister to provide us with that very information. And SAHPRA refused to do so. They still refuse to do so. And it looks like we're going to most probably have to go and get a court order to get it out of them if they don't comply.
It sounds like you're in this for the long haul. Are you disappointed by the postponement to May?
Certainly, if one thinks about the health risks from the risks of children receiving these vaccines and potentially going into trials as well, we're extremely disappointed by the delay. We didn't want the delay, but the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of evidence that we still need to get from SAHPRA, and we need to analyze it, get our specialists to look at it so that we can prepare our arguments on a logical and clear basis as to why we don't support whatever the evidence is. If it is delivered, we hope to get it soon, and that's a tragedy that we have to wait for that. We are likely, we got permission from the chairman to lodge a written appeal to motivate a case to have the rollout of the vaccines and also to stop the trials, or not stop them, suspend them until such time as this process of the appeal and any further legal approaches that may be made are completed.
Just curious in terms of, maybe the response, especially from the public. Are you getting support?
Certainly, prior to the hearing on Friday and during the hearing as well, there was continuous messages coming through of support, and subsequently as well, the parents of South Africa, the concerned parents of South Africa, are definitely worrying about what's happening to their children and what the long-term impacts are going to be to them, particularly, as I say, because they've got natural, robust immunity as youngsters, and that immunity is likely going to be compromised, particularly from something like the Pfizer vaccine and the way that it interferes with the mRNA.
John Taylor is the founder of Free the Nation, Save the Children organization. Thank you very much for availing yourself this evening.